there, young pups. My name is Gabriel Fountains. I'm a film major at the prestigious and elegant University of Kansas. So you think you know what it is to have an international career, do you? Well, you don't know it. This past month I had the astronomically amazing opportunity to travel to London with some kids. While there, the idea of what it meant to be an American and what it is to work in another country really came to the forefront of my mind. Oh. When trying to define an international career, I think it can be anywhere or anything, even here in the United States. Even your local job here in town can have a touch of foreignness when dealing with customers or other employees the company you work for might have hired. On a global scale, when I think of an international career, I tend to think of an American working for an American company in another country, such as working for the United States Navy or Enterprise. Or, of course, an American working for a foreign company in a foreign country, such as working in Paris for Givenchy, or working for BBC or Sky Sports in England. And of course, the third, and probably most prevalent, is working for a foreign company here in the US. A lot of people seem to don't think of it, but a lot of companies we use daily are actually foreign companies, especially ones associated with popular culture, as well as technical aspects, such as companies such as Samsung and Sony. And of course, when thinking of foreign companies here in the US, one has to think of high-end retailers as well as car companies. During our trip, we met with a lot of American-based employers with American employees who have decided to expand into England, such as Enterprise and ISN. We also met with Andy Walsh of the University of London's Career Centre, and he walked us through what it looks like to work abroad, more specifically what it looks like to work in London. It seems if you're going to work in another country, your best bet is to work for an American company in a foreign country, especially when it comes to paperwork and visas. It's less of a headache. Andy walked us through the hiring process of what some English companies have to do in terms of hiring a foreigner. And sometimes they have to provide documentation that they've searched the entire country just to look for one position to be filled. And they have to prove that someone in England couldn't have done it. Kill me! Hey, don't worry, all is not lost. Andy stated that if one was to attend graduate or undergraduate school in England, there's a vastly better chance of getting hired in England after they finish school, as well as there's internships that foreigners are ready to hire Americans for. In addition, resources like BUNAC are extremely helpful. They actively help students try and find internships and work in other countries, and even sponsor students through visas. In addition, the Going Global section of the University Career Center website has a plethora of information about what it looks like to live in another country, as well as great job and internship search links. And of course, there's the very adventurous opportunity of just moving to another country, getting a lower wage job, learning the language and culture while there, and looking for a career and building your way up while in that country. Which segues us to me and my future plans. Hey, in terms of career aspirations, I'm the epitome of someone who is up in the air. Or a bum. Coming from a film background, with a minor in business, I might add, I'm more focused on the journalistic side of media, specifically sports, more specifically, football. That's better. In terms of the untraditional career path of Hollywood, if one is lucky enough to make it onto a film set, chances are the international will come to you, as big-time blockbusters can be filmed all over the world. After getting some experience in Hollywood and proving yourself here, impress your superiors through your hard work, get some connections through your job, and working for a big British company like the BBC or Film 4 Productions isn't a far-off goal. As we learned in our trip to Enterprise, digital marketing is a tricky business in another country. To create a successful ad campaign, creators must be very knowledgeable on what spectators in a specific country see as important, and also should be knowledgeable on customs and cultures, so to assure that a given campaign doesn't offend anyone in a given country. Something I noticed in England that was subtly different in the States, at least in Kansas, was the implementation of public transportation as ads. And although ads for US exports were around, ads highlighting European or Commonwealth brands, models, or actors were pretty prevalent. Really wanting to get into sports marketing and or management and or youth development, I found that starting from the ground up is probably a good practice, as with any other career. As one with very little footballing experience, finding work and making connections is key. I think it's important not only to network within perhaps the media field you're in, i.e. if you work for a company that films sports games, but also network within the sports community as a whole. For instance, get to know the names of employees of the club that your company films games for. This could get you ahead if you decide to enter the sports world via business or management or even marketing. Getting work for a big-time football club abroad is difficult for anyone, especially for an American with no prior experience. However, working your way up here in the States is a good way to get contacts, and especially working for an organization such as the MLS, which is continually gaining a reputation abroad, is a good way to move up. Plus for me, I could easily apply the information I shared earlier by taking the plunge and moving to another country, working at a base minimum job, and either volunteer or get a job helping coach kids, and work my way up the ranks in organizations while I do it. And of course, if you know what you want to do for a career, start it early. Get involved with a club on campus, or volunteer at a company that specializes in what you want to do. Getting work is a challenge. Getting work in another country is a challenge. But through the simple utilization of transferable skills, one can achieve their goal of getting work elsewhere. Anywhere you go in the world, people look highly on hard work and respectful and ready to learn attitude. Other skills I feel one should possess or try to garnish in their own lives is definitely being adventurous and courageous. I'd never been abroad before this trip and I've always wanted to. But whenever you travel and experience something new, there's a bit of bravery required. Also, definitely be culturally aware when visiting and or living in another country. I thought I was an expert on British customs, but finding out that talking on the tube is taboo is just a simple example of finding little things that are or aren't appropriate in given circumstances. I definitely suggest this class for anyone interested in international work. You gain knowledge on what it really means to realistically work and live in another country. And for me, it was an eye-opening experience. And being an Anglophile, it definitely inspired me even more to attempt to get a job in England. Any travel is good for gaining knowledge and insight into how other people live and work. So I definitely suggest this class and trip, as you get to not only meet people doing what you actually want to do, living and working abroad, but you also get to meet some amazing people through the trip as well.